My blind date turns out to be my boss, who now pays me to date him and keep his secret. Part 2. Gregory's POV 3 months later. Are you sure that no one followed you here? I asked nervously. We could not be seen. It was not safe yet. Yes. Ever since I left the company, I have not seen anyone following me. I am sure that your brother did not find out my identity, Xander said as he pulled me in for a hug. I breathed him in, all of him, and felt my racing heart slow down. Good. The resort is the only place we have where no one knows us. I missed you, I told him. I could not believe that I was holding his hand. I ran my fingers over his jaw. He watched me, not saying anything. The next thing I knew, he pushed me back onto the grass and I laughed. You have a very interesting laugh, he pointed out as he looked down at me. He looked like he was about to laugh, which made me giggle once more. Interesting way to say that the past 3 months without me have been hell. He raised an eyebrow as he said this. He lowered his head onto mine and I felt a light kiss. Then my favorite song started playing. How did you know I liked this song? I said, eyes closed. But when I opened them, he was not there. The entire atmosphere had shifted and I was looking up at the ceiling of one of my father's houses. The music was still on. It was my alarm. I groaned as I snoozed it. I put the blanket over my head and closed my eyes. For a moment, I allowed myself to lie in darkness. I felt like I was still in that dream where he was teasing me about my laughter. I still felt his lips upon mine like that kiss had been real. My phone rang at that moment, interrupting my thoughts. I threw the covers off myself and answered it. Hello, I answered groggily. Morning, sunshine. Just wanted to let you know that lunch is canceled. My mom says she is coming down with a rash and does not want to be out in the sun, Emilia said. Emilia, the woman who is going to be my wife one day. Her chirpy voice went on as she talked about how she was so sorry about everything and she hoped I could pass the message on to my parents. You are doing a pretty good job at convincing her that you are sad about it. How about this? Tell her I invited you over to the office today for lunch, just the two of us. That should give you some time away from her, I suggested. My mind was already starting to work, formulating the perfect plan so that she could get away from her mom. I will tell her, thank you for inviting me to lunch, she said cheerfully, and then she hung up. I got a text 5 minutes later. I owe you for this. Thank goodness both of us are saved from that insufferable family dinner, and I can go to the lab today, she texted me. I replied with a thumbs up, and then I got dressed. I needed to look well put together. I had just been assigned to one of the biggest projects of the year. My father was leaving it all to me. He was out of town working with one of his friends. I was a bit nervous, but I told myself that I could do it. Before I left the house, I made sure to have the stress toy that Xander left on his desk. I went to his desk the day after he left. I found a small stress toy that he forgot to pack. He had them all over his house. We never spoke about them, but I had seen him use them a few times at work. It was always with me. I did not know what to say to him on the day that he left. How do you end an arrangement like ours? It was just a transaction. There was no need for me to become all sappy. There was no need for me to tell him everything in person. I could not risk my brother Landon finding out about any of my personal life. He was practically salivating for my position, and I would not let him have it. So, I stuck to the letter, broke everything off, and focused on my future wife Emilia. It did not matter that once in a while I dreamt about him. He was in my past, and I was never going to see him again. Later that day, I wanted to rip my ears out. I had been reading through a million strategies, but none that tickled my fancy. I needed something a bit more, something more revolutionary. Mr. De Silva, can I get back to you on this? Something is missing, I said, smiling apologetically. I thought you loved our pitch, he said. Yes, the pitch was amazing, and it made me feel like we were going to create magic. I need a bit of that magic right now, I said. I have my best people working on this, I promise, he said. The same people who did the presentation? I asked. If you are asking about the person who came up with the main idea, he's in a different department. He is a hard worker and sometimes he works with my team, but he is not yet high up enough to be a part of the main team, Mr. De Silva explained. Sir, if he can bring me that magic, then I want him. I want this project to be 100% successful, I urged him. Very well, I will add him to the team, Mr. De Silva said, smiling. I breathed a sigh of relief. Thank you very much. I will be in my office if you need me, I said to him, and then I left. As I was walking, someone came at me and bumped into me hard. His shoulder hit my breastbone quite hard, and I felt a sharp pain go through me. Sir, I am so sorry, someone exclaimed as they held the affected area. I looked at the person who had done this, but I could not see. My glasses had fallen off and clattered to the floor. Sir, let me take you to your office, my assistant exclaimed as she grabbed my hand. As she did so, I took the hand off my breastplate. Suddenly, the person was gone. All of this happened too fast for me to know what was going on. I could barely see anything as well. What a great start to my day. The next morning. As I was saying, we are going to have to make sure that we implement this strategy when we are working. It is tried and tested and should not give us any problems. Sorry I'm late, sir. Someone interrupted me. I froze. There was no way it was him. I looked away from my presentation and there he was. I was not prepared for the feeling in my chest when I saw him. What are you doing here? I finally found my voice. Sorry, sir, traffic was hectic and I had to travel from our branch across town when I heard that the meeting had been moved up to today. I'm the last-minute addition, Mr. Xander Pierce, he said nervously, and he wrung his hands together. There was sweat on his face and he looked absolutely gorgeous. I was immediately reminded of my loss when I cut off ties with him. You may sit, I croaked, unable to speak clearly due to the shock. He sat down and I continued. After the meeting, Mr. Pierce, can you stay? I need you to explain something to me, I said after the meeting. Everyone was leaving the office. He froze from packing his stuff and looked at me. Gosh, I had never been disarmed by such a venomous look in my life before. He stood still as everyone left the room. You were supposed to stay away, he hissed as he came closer to me. I was hit by the smell of his cologne. I swear I had no idea that you worked here, my voice quivered. Was I nervous? It could not be. It was just Xander. Oh, then you made sure to specifically request for me to be a part of your team while working with a branch of the company you banished me to? He asked as he tilted his head to the side. His voice was cold and emotionless. I had no idea, I promise I did not know. I requested the person who wrote the pitch. I was impressed without knowing who it was. Honestly, I'm so proud of you for how far you have come, I said nervously. He was silent for a moment, looked me up and down, and then said, Your fiancé seems to be treating you well. Gosh, I am sorry that I did not say goodbye properly, okay? I raised my voice, now sounding more upset than I actually felt. He backed away and then he made his way back to his things. Don't worry, I wasn't hurt. It was just a mutually beneficial relationship after all. I would have been a fool to catch feelings, he smiled bitterly. Every single one of those words hit home. I felt shitty for the way that I ended things. Please wait, I pleaded, but he had already shut the door in my face. A couple of days later. I wish it had gotten easier to see him at work, but it was not. I observed him when he was not looking. He had a certain light to him, an extra spring in his step. I wondered if he had met someone new, and if he made him happy. I hoped that he did. He deserved that at least. Someone as caring as Xander deserved that. He was very professional when we worked together. He addressed me formally at all times and gave his all to the project. I was shocked that he did not ask to be taken off of it. With him, it was reaching new heights. That magic I had spoken to Mr. De Silva about was there. It was a new thing I had noticed in him. Back at my dad's company, he was a hard worker, but not like this. His creativity was just flowing. He was leading the team into something beautiful. I admired his work, knowing that one day he was going to be a great leader. After work, I would go to my dad's house. My father was at home some days, especially when Emilia and her parents came over. We had endless dinners and outings together, all to strengthen the relationship between the two families. We both knew that it was all a publicity stunt. Our marriage was one of convenience and she knew it too. That was the reason why I agreed to propose to her. My father had been pressuring me to get married for months, but I could not stand any of the girls that he showed me. Of course, as a gay man, I was never going to be attracted to them. but their attitudes made things worse. Then I met Emilia. I underestimated her when I met her. Now that I had grown to know her, I considered her a good friend. Emilia was a beautiful woman, quiet and soft-spoken. She was incredibly smart and wanted to be a marine biologist. Her parents wanted to marry her off to the most suitable man. They thought her love of science was useless. All of the guys they got for her felt as if she was too plain. She had confided in me after we had met a few times. She had broken down and told me to just say no because she knew I was going to say no anyway. I asked what she meant. She had smiled knowingly and said someone like me could never love someone like her, and she was fine with it. She said all she wanted to do was study and work in her field. I told her that I did not need a pretty face and falseness. I just needed to shut my family up about the marriage thing. We had shared a laugh at our misfortune, and that is how we became friends. We agreed that once we got married, we would lead separate lives. I would make sure to support her in her career, and she would make sure to make me look good. We hoped to satisfy our parents and then live private lives outside of it. I could have met a worse woman than Emilia. I felt bad sometimes that I could never love her. I hoped that one day I could tell her who I really was. If she accepted me, I would then tell her that she could have a relationship with anyone she fancied. I felt it was only fair that she had a chance at love, whatever it was. A week later. As I opened the door, I swore. It was raining. I ran all the way to the car, but I could not see anything in front of me because it was dark. The next thing I knew, I kissed the ground. "Are you okay?" someone asked. They had an umbrella. They gave me a helping hand and helped me up. Once I was level with them, I saw that it was him. "Why have you not gone home yet?" I asked. "I was waiting for an Uber, but it is taking years," Xander shrugged. "Come, let me drop you off at home," I offered without a thought. "No, you don't have to," he started to say, but I interrupted him. "It is late. You will wait here forever, and it is cold. Having you sick will delay the project," I insisted. "Then it will be your turn to take care of me," he suddenly said. I looked at him. Had I heard wrong? "What?" I asked, feeling my cheeks heat up despite the cold. "Oh, nothing. Thanks for the lift," he said as he looked away from me. Later that evening. "Thank you so much. I will see you tomorrow," he said as he got out of the car. I said goodbye to him, and then I started to drive. I was driving for all of 2 seconds when my car suddenly stopped. I tried to start it again, but nothing. Of all days. Come on, this car had just been for servicing. What was wrong? Suddenly, there was a knock on my window. I opened it, and Xander asked, "Need help?" "Something is wrong with the car. I cannot believe this. Let me call someone to come and tow me." I shrugged, not wanting him to worry. I checked my phone and realized that it was dead. God, I banged the hooter. "Come in, you can charge your phone and you can get warm," he offered. I was taken aback by his offer. "Don't just sit there looking at me, come on," he shouted. I did not need to be asked twice. I got out of the car and followed him to his apartment. Once we were in, he went to get my phone plugged in. I stood in the living room, not sure what to do. "You can wear this. Take off your wet clothes." He rounded the corner and caught me off guard. I caught the clothes he threw at me. He pointed me in the direction of the bathroom, and I went to get changed. I got dressed, and then I went back to the living room. He was sitting there on his phone. "Take a seat. Sorry, I only have one couch," he said. I took a sit next to him and sat there awkwardly, not sure what to say. Just then, there was thunder. It was so loud it felt like the heavens opened up. I got knocked onto my back and fell over. Xander was suddenly on top of me and not letting go. He held me as tightly as he did the stress balls. I felt myself holding him tighter. After a while, he started to let go. Just then, more thunder followed, and he screamed. I pulled him back onto my chest and held him. "It's okay. I'm here," I said as I rocked him back and forth. An hour later. "My phone is charged. Let me see if I can get home," I told him. He was finally sitting on his own. We were looking at each other and not saying anything. I guess one wanted to talk about what had just happened. "Sure, you do that," he said as he got up to fetch my phone. He came back with it and handed it to me. I switched it on and started to call the tolling company, but no one answered. I finally got a message back, and one of the people I called told me that they could only come and get me early that morning. He can only come early in the morning, I sighed, defeated. You can stay till the morning, he said as he yawned. By now, the flush of embarrassment had nearly faded from his face. The thunder might go on for a while. I could sleep on the floor in your room, I asked. The floor is cold. You can sleep on the bed. It is big enough for both of us, he said nonchalantly as he turned to the bedroom. He grabbed me less than 30 minutes into us being in bed. He did not let go all night. 3 days later. What was supposed to be some rain turned into a small storm. The bridge on this part of town was flooded, so I was stuck. Work was suspended and everyone stayed indoors. I lied to everyone and said that I was set up in a motel. Since I had some work with me, Xander and I decided to tackle it. There was nothing much to do. The power was going on and off, and we did not dare turn on the TV. Xander had some serious superstitions when it came to weather like this. The first few hours after realizing we were stuck together were awkward. My car was still downstairs, unharmed and not working. The street was not that flooded, so I decided that I was going to try and get a motel. When I told him that, he went crazy. Just say if you have a death wish, I cannot let you go outside alone. You can stay till it is safe to travel again, he said. I know. I am just in a rush because tomorrow Emilia and I have to decide on a venue, I explained, feeling weighed down by all that needed to be done. What is she like? He asked me casually. Smart, kind, and funny, I told him the truth. I had hoped you would tell me that she is terrible, he said. Why? I questioned, suspicious about why he would even care. Nothing. I have no reason to hate her, right? You were never mine to be taken away by someone, he laughed bitterly. I could sense it. He was holding back how he really felt. I wish she was easy to dislike as well, but she is not, and she is stuck with me. Who cannot love her? I sighed. She's lucky to have you. Would you like some food? I know you do not like eggs, so I was thinking of making some croissants, he changed the topic. I was still reeling over what he had said. I like the way you make them. Please tell me you have syrup, I shouted excitedly. He confirmed that he had it by going to fetch some. I could not help but notice that it was my favorite brand. We once argued about which brand was better, and I made him taste my favorite brand. The rest of the day passed with us making casual conversation. After a while, we got bored and decided to get some work done. We worked with the other team members, comparing notes and making improvements. The rest of the days passed like that. The weather got worse each day, and I was secretly glad. With each conversation we had, remnants of our past slipped through. Those small things that I locked away in the deepest parts of my heart resurfaced, and I started to think about what if. What if we restarted this? What if we were extra careful this time? What if I asked Dad to send my brother out of the country? Emilia would understand. I just knew she would. Each night, when I held him because he feared that the thunder would start up again, my heart gnawed at me. Last year, I knew that he was starting to feel something more for me. He never said it, but he showed it in little ways he cared for me. I had never allowed myself to even think about what I felt for him, until he was gone and I was left holding his stress toy. 2 days later. How is he? Xander is his name, right? Emilia said as soon as I entered my room. What the hell, Emilia? What are you doing here? I exclaimed as I closed the door behind me. Am I not allowed to be in my fiancé's room? Are you scared that rumors are going to fly about what we are doing? She said slyly. My head started pounding as I tried to figure out what she knew about Xander. Your brother is the one who found out and told me the truth, she answered the question in my mind. The truth about what exactly? I asked. The truth that I had always suspected, she rolled her eyes. Wait, what? She came closer to me and started to circle me. I had never seen her look so serious. I felt like I was about to lose all the contents of my stomach due to the stress. That is what I meant when we met. That you would never be attracted to me, she revealed, making my jaw drop to the floor. I opened my mouth to say something, but I could not. I was unable to process a single thing. Are you going to call the wedding off? I asked. but she remained silent. She just kept on circling me, making me feel even more faint. Are you going to tell my parents? I felt like I was going to pass out at this point. And ruin things? No, I am not going to do that. Do not worry. Your brother is not going to tell anyone. That is, if he wants his dirty secret to stay a secret. She stopped a while, and then threw her hair off her shoulder to look cooler when she mentioned my brother's crimes. I always knew he was using something, but I had no idea he was secretly going to rehab out of the country. She stopped, and I stopped too. I hadn't known about that. That was news. By the way, do you know how he found you? He put a tracking chip on your glasses. He said he had someone break them and replace them with the ones with the tracker. When you were at a residential flat for more than 3 days, he decided to check out who was renting it, she explained to me as she finally took a seat. He connected the dots when he realized Xander once worked for our company and then came to you. He figured that you would dump me or expose me, I finished for her, defeated. There was no point in hiding the truth anymore. My future is in your hands. You can do anything for me right now. What are you going to do? I have a couple of options. It depends on your answer to the next few questions, she grinned as she took her trusty pen and paper. She patted the bed next to her and I sat next to her. Out of the frying pan into the fire, right? Sometime later. After all of that, there was only one person left for me to explain everything to. As anyone could guess, it was Xander. But there were several conversations between Emilia and me before I finally turned to my boy. After Emilia found out about me, she told me that we did not have to go through with the wedding, but we had to get money from our parents first. She came up with a diabolical but genius plan and I loved it. She then mentioned that maybe once I was out, I could finally be with the one I loved. I told her that Xander wanted nothing to do with me, then I told her everything that had happened since I met him. She told me that she was still rooting for us. She also said the fact that he was now using a lot of things that I liked in his home meant he had not forgotten me yet. She told me to take a chance, maybe I would be surprised. So I did. I went to his apartment a few days later under the ruse of coming to fetch my suit and return his clothes. Thank you so much for letting me stay here during that storm. It meant a lot to me, I told him as he handed me my suit. He smiled softly in return. It is good to see you. Would you like some coffee? Take a seat. I smiled on the inside as I realized this was the perfect opportunity. I wanted to talk to you about something while I was here. Feel free to say no because it is a lot to dump on you. I just thought to let you know that my brother found out who you were. He informed my fiancé. I blurted out without thinking too much about it. What the hell? He said, holding my hand in disbelief. Having him touch me like that unexpectedly made my hand tingle. Yes, let me continue. I then proceeded to spill all the tea, which he listened to very attentively. So yeah, the person who made me turn my back on my desires has been dealt with. I just wanted to let you know you are safe. I wouldn't want anything bad to happen to you because of me, I concluded, looking down. 1 minute you care and the next you don't. Sometimes I feel that you might still feel something for me, like when I found my stress toy in your pocket. But then sometimes you ignore me at work and cannot even look me in the eyes. You are confusing, he pointed out. I was taken aback. Apologies. I might have been very cryptic in the way I chose to express my feelings. Xander, I love everything about you. From the way you smile, laugh, and talk, to the way you are always so caring to me. I love how you see me as much than an heir. I love the way you called me out on the very first day we met after I ghosted you. There are so many little things that I can list, but even then, you would not understand how much I love you. I poured my entire heart. For a moment, there was absolute silence between us. For a moment, I thought none of our plans would work, but then Xander smiled. He actually did smile. He smiled this time, and it was genuine. Just say you love me, and that would be enough. I love you too, Greg. And then, shyly, I forgave you the moment I looked in your eyes again. How can I stay mad at you? I let out a little scream of delight, and he chuckled, his laughter like music to my eyes. I leaned in closer to him and kissed him lightly. I could not contain the joy in my heart. It was like I was going to explode. Now, the wedding. 1 month later. Emilia wanted our wedding to be the biggest in the city. She wanted everyone to be there. I used my connections to invite business people, semi-popular people, and many more. That was the first part of the plan. I did the second part of the plan in secret. No one was to know anything. The third part was a bit hard. We had to convince our parents to hand over some property to us. We said that we wanted to start planning our future so that when we moved in together, we could get right to starting a family. I admired how well Emilia acted. She was natural at it and put me to shame. Once that part was done, we had to wait for the wedding to get the most important part done. Part 4 depended on how well Part 2 worked. Part 2 worked wonderfully, but with a bit of resistance. Now that everything was done, we went ahead with the wedding. I looked directly into the camera I knew was recording all of this and broadcasting to at least a few thousand people. Before I knew what love was, I only knew transactions. I only knew that you could get something for the right price. Affection, kindness, and honesty all came at a price. And then I met this lovely woman here. I gestured to Emilia. She has accepted me more than I expected her to. She has allowed me to be my most authentic self. She has allowed me to be honest with myself and the world. For that reason, I will be honest with you all today, I smiled. I looked at Xander, sitting in the second row looking gorgeous in his suit. Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to introduce you to my only love, Xander Pierce. I gestured to him, and he gave me a big grin. That was Emilia's plan. It would have been up to me if I came out, but I wanted to. I wanted the whole world to know the man who had been making me happy for the past year. Everyone was silent, and he made his way up to the stage and kissed me. That kiss was everything. With flashing lights all around us as the press took pictures, I could already see the headlines in tomorrow's paper. Son of multimillionaire comes out as gay at his wedding to heiress. Exactly how he planned it. The best part, my parents and siblings could not say anything in front of the public. Not if they wanted to add to the story and spark more headlines. All of them had sufficient PR training, so they knew not to react. The least they could do was remain shocked. I had another surprise for them once he was in front of me. I asked if he was ready for what we discussed. I am more than ready, he grinned, and looked at the officiator who looked very lost. Sir, you can carry on with the wedding. We are getting married, I said into the microphone, and everyone gasped. I took a look at my dad, and he looked thunderous, but I did not care. The officiator shrugged and carried on with the process. After going through with the rest of the steps necessary to get married, he then said, I now pronounce you married. You may kiss the groom. We could not wait to get our hands on each other. Without hesitation, we sealed it with a kiss. In front of the world, I had just shown them what this man meant to me. I was so happy that we had reconciled a month earlier, and it was all because of a stress toy. Husband, I muttered with my hands wrapped perfectly around Xander's waist. Husband, he returned with a grin of his own. We were not the only ones who got a happy ending. I gave Emilia a copy of the properties that were signed for us. She then sold them and used them to fund her studies. She is on track to completing her degree. She is still our friend and our biggest supporter. My dad told me to distance myself from the business publicly and say that I wanted to focus on my relationship. I did that gladly, took the money he gave me, and started over with Xander. He wanted to have my brother replace me as the head of the company. Alas, he had a new PR nightmare to face. My brother's secret, that he was a drug addict and had been hiding it from the family, was unearthed by the hungry press, who could not get enough of our family. He did not get my position after that. Xander and I are still very happy in our relationship, and we grow more in love each day. The end. Who would you choose between your family and the love of your life? Thanks for watching. Consider subscribing to become part of our Rainbow Force, and stay wholesome.